The impossible transmission, the emergency klaxon echoed through the crystalline corridors of Coalition Command, its urgent wail cutting through the usual hum of diplomatic activity. Admiral Keth Vreeland's 6 arms moved in practiced precision across his command console, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the ambient blue lighting of the war room. The massive Zealothian had seen 3 centuries of galactic conflicts, but the expression on his compound eyes suggested this was different. Report. Vreeland's voice rumbled through his vocal chambers, the sound carrying both authority and barely contained concern. Around the circular command center, representatives from 12 different species turned their attention to the central holographic display, their various forms of communication devices translating his words into clicks, whistles, and harmonic vibrations. Commander Visses of the Aquatic Kingdoms surfaced from her mobile water tank, her translucent fins catching the light as she spoke. Admiral, we've detected an anomaly in the Terra system. A transmission, sir. It's impossible. The room fell silent, except for the gentle bubbling of Tice's life support system. Every being present knew the significance of that statement. The Terra system had been dead for over 200 years. Ever since the Devourers had swept through human space like a cosmic plague, consuming every world, every station, every trace of human civilization. Explain impossible, Commander, Vreeland said, his mandibles clicking with nervous energy. The holographic display shimmered and reformed, showing a 3-dimensional map of local space. A pulsing red dot marked the Terra system, surrounded by the grey markers that indicated dead worlds. Dices manipulated her controls with graceful movements of her webbed hands. The signal originated from Terra Prime, the 3rd planet. According to our records, the surface was completely sterilized by the Devourers. Nothing should be alive there, let alone capable of interstellar communication. Dr. Vex Qualina, the Coalition's chief xenobiologist, leaned forward on his forelegs. The insectoid klaxon's antennae twitched with scientific curiosity. Could it be automated systems? Some kind of delayed transmission from old human technology? That's what we thought initially, Dices replied, her gills fluttering with what her species showed as uncertainty. But the signal is adaptive. It's responded to our preliminary scans, changing frequency and encryption methods in real time. This isn't a recording, Admiral. Something intelligent is broadcasting from a dead world. General Morax, the Coalition's primary military strategist, stood from his position at the tactical display. The massive Ursoid's fur rippled with agitation as he spoke in his deep, growling voice. This could be a devourer trap. They've used human technology before, turning our victories into ambushes. We should consider this a hostile action until proven otherwise. With respect, General, interrupted a quiet voice from the back of the chamber. You're wrong. Every head, sensor array, and optical organ turned toward the speaker. Dr. Alina Vasquez stepped forward from the shadows where she had been observing. Her human form looked impossibly fragile among the alien representatives, her dark hair showing streaks of silver despite her relatively young age of 43. As the Coalition's xenarchaeologist and the last known surviving human, her words carried unique weight. Dr. Vasquez, Admiral Vreeland acknowledged, inclining his massive head. You believe this transmission is genuine? Alina moved to the central display, her hands working the controls with the practiced ease of someone who had spent decades adapting human interfaces for alien technology. The signal's pattern appeared in complex mathematical formulae that scrolled through the air in glowing text. The encryption pattern, she said, pointing to specific sequences. It's based on an old human communication protocol, but it's been modified with mathematical principles that weren't developed until after the Devourer invasion. Someone has taken our basic technology and evolved it far beyond what we had when Terra fell. Dr. Qualina's compound eyes focused intently on the data. Are you suggesting that humans survived the Great Consumption? I'm not suggesting it, Alina said firmly, her voice carrying a mixture of hope and determination that surprised everyone in the room. I'm stating it as fact. This signal contains biographical markers, genetic signatures, and cultural references that no other species could replicate. There are humans alive in the Terra system, and they're trying to contact us. The implications of her statement rippled through the chamber like a shockwave. For 2 centuries, the Coalition had operated under the assumption that humanity was extinct, wiped out by the Devourers, in a campaign of systematic destruction that had lasted less than 50 years. The loss of human space had been mourned by some and celebrated by others, as humans had been both admired for their tenacity and feared for their unpredictable nature. Commander Vises surfaced again, water droplets catching the light as she spoke. Dr. Vasquez, even if humans did survive, how could they have remained hidden for so long? Our deep space scouts have surveyed the former human territories multiple times. We found nothing but dead worlds and debris fields. Elena's expression grew distant, as if she were remembering something from long ago. Because that's what we wanted you to find. Humans are very good at hiding when we need to. We're even better at making people see what we want them to see. General Morax's fur bristled with suspicion. That sounds dangerously close to admitting deception. Dr. Are you saying humans have been deliberately concealing themselves from the Coalition? I'm saying humans have been doing what humans do best, Alina replied, meeting the General's challenging gaze without flinching. We adapt, we survive, we endure. And when the galaxy's greatest threat comes hunting for us, we make sure they can't find us until we're ready to fight back. Admiral Vreeland's 6 arms moved in the complex gesture that indicated deep contemplation among his people. Doctor, are you suggesting that this transmission is not a cry for help, but rather a declaration that humanity is ready to rejoin galactic affairs? Alina studied the signal pattern again, her eyes tracing the mathematical sequences with growing excitement. Admiral, I think this transmission is something much more significant than either of those possibilities. Look at the temporal markers embedded in the code. She highlighted specific portions of the signal, and the holographic display zoomed in to show intricate timing mechanisms woven throughout the message. This signal has been broadcasting for exactly 72 hours. That's not random. In human culture, 72 hours represents the traditional period of mourning before taking action. It's a declaration of intent. Intent to do what? Dr. Qualina asked, his antennae practically vibrating with curiosity. Elena's smile was sharp and determined, carrying echoes of the same fierce expression that had made humanity both respected and feared throughout the galaxy. Intent to stop running and start hunting. The Devourers have been spreading unchecked through our space for 2 centuries, consuming everything in their path. But they made one critical mistake. She turned to address the entire assembled council, her voice carrying across the chamber with surprising authority for someone who represented an allegedly extinct species. They assumed that destroying our worlds meant they had destroyed us. They never considered that humans might view the loss of our territory not as defeat, but as motivation. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of different species, expressing surprise, concern, and excitement in their various ways. Admiral Vreeland raised 4 of his arms, calling for silence with the gesture that commanded attention across all coalition cultures. "Dr. Vasquez," he said formally, "are you requesting coalition support for a reconnaissance mission to the Terra system?" Alina shook her head, her expression becoming more serious. "No, Admiral. I'm requesting permission to go home and find out what my people have been planning for the past 200 years. Because if I'm right about this signal, the war against the Devourers is about to begin in earnest, and humanity has had 2 centuries to prepare for it." She paused, looking around the chamber at the assembled representatives of species that had once considered humanity either allies or threats, but never equals. "And I suspect you're going to need all the help you can get." The transmission from Terra pulsed again on the display, its complex patterns seeming almost alive as they danced through the holographic space. In that moment, every being in the chamber understood that the galaxy was about to change in ways none of them could predict. The age of hiding was over, and whatever humanity had become during their long exile was about to be revealed. Awakening the sleepers, the coalition vessel Harmony's Edge dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Terra system. Its sleek hull designed for diplomatic missions rather than military confrontation. Alina Vasquez stood on the bridge beside Admiral Vralin, watching as the forward screens revealed a sight that defied everything they thought they knew about the former human homeworld. "Impossible," whispered Commander This, from her mobile tank, her gills fluttering rapidly as she processed the sensor data. "Admiral, I'm reading massive energy signatures throughout the system. These aren't residual readings from old human technology." Alina gripped the railing beside her, her knuckles white with tension and excitement. Before them, Terra Prime hung. In space, not as the dead, scorched world they expected, but as a planet showing clear signs of technological activity. Aurora-like energy patterns danced across the upper atmosphere, and artificial satellites moved in complex orbital patterns that suggested active maintenance and purpose. "Dr. Vasquez," Admiral Vralin's voice carried a note of confusion that was rare for the experienced commander. "Our historical records show that Terra Prime was completely sterilized. The Devourers consumed the atmosphere itself. How is this possible?" Before Alina could respond, the ship's communication array crackled to life. A human voice, speaking in clear galactic standard, filled the bridge with words that sent chills down Elena's spine. "Coalition vessel, this is Captain Marcus Chen of the Terran Defense Force. Dr. Vasquez, welcome home. We've been waiting for you." The bridge fell silent except for the gentle hum of the ship's systems. Elena stepped forward, her voice barely steady as she responded. Marcus Chun, you're supposed to be dead. You died on Kepler Station when the Devourers hit the outer colonies." A laugh came through the speakers, rich with warmth and familiarity. "Death was greatly exaggerated, Alina. Just like everything else about humanity's fate. Request permission to come aboard. I think it's time you learned what we've really been doing for the past 200 years. Admiral Vralin looked to Alina, his compound eyes reflecting uncertainty. In all his centuries of experience, he had never encountered a situation quite like this. Alina nodded firmly, her scientific curiosity overriding her caution. "Permission granted, Captain Chen. Welcome aboard the Harmony's Edge." 20 minutes later, the cargo bay filled with representatives from multiple coalition species, all eager to witness this unprecedented moment. When the airlocks cycled open, Alina gasped audibly at what emerged. Marcus Chen looked exactly as she remembered him from their time together at the Xenoarchaeological Institute. Perhaps a few years older, but still possessing the same confident, stride and intelligent eyes. What shocked her wasn't his appearance, but his uniform. The dark blue fabric bore insignia she didn't recognize, incorporating human design elements with technology that seemed decades ahead of anything she knew. "Alina," Marcus said, opening his arms for an embrace that she accepted without hesitation. "You look good for someone who's supposed to be the last of her species. How is this possible?" She whispered against his shoulder. "I saw the reports. I saw the orbital bombardment footage. Terra Prime was destroyed." Marcus pulled back, his expression becoming serious. "Terra Prime, as you knew it, was destroyed. But humans are remarkably good at learning from our mistakes. When we realized the Devourers were systematically hunting us, we made a choice. We decided to become ghosts." Dr. Qualinar stepped forward, his antennae twitching with scientific curiosity. "Captain Chen, could you elaborate on what you mean by becoming ghosts?" Marcus turned to address the assembled group, his posture shifting into what Alina recognized as his teaching mode from their university days. The Devourers hunt by detecting large concentrations of technological activity and biological signatures. They're incredibly efficient at tracking conventional civilizations, so we stopped being conventional. He gestured toward one of the viewing ports where Terra Prime was visible. "What you're seeing isn't Terra Prime as it was, but as it became. We moved our entire civilization underground, into the planet's crust and mantle. The surface you see is a carefully maintained illusion designed to show exactly what we wanted any observers to find." Commander Vises surfaced in her tank, her translucent form showing the rapid color changes that indicated intense thought among her species. "The energy readings we detected, they're not from surface installations. They're from a network of installations that extends through the planet's core and out into the asteroid belt," Marcus confirmed. "We've had 2 centuries to rebuild, to adapt, and to prepare. Humanity didn't die when the Devourers came. We evolved." General Morax's fur rippled with agitation. "You've been hiding while the rest of the galaxy faced the Devourer threat. Coalition worlds have fallen while you remained in hiding." Marcus's expression hardened, and Alina saw something in his eyes that reminded her why humans had been both respected and feared throughout the galaxy. "General, we weren't hiding, we were learning. Every coalition world that fell, every Devourer attack, every tactical failure, we studied it all. We've been preparing for a war that the coalition has been losing for 200 years. "Show us," Alina said quietly. "Marcus, show us what humanity has become." Marcus smiled, and Alina saw pride mixed with something that might have been anticipation. "I was hoping you'd ask. Alina, everyone, I'd like to invite you to visit New Terra, but I should warn you, the humanity you're about to meet isn't the same species that left the galactic stage 2 centuries ago. The shuttle trip to the planet's surface was unlike anything Alina had experienced. Instead of descending to a traditional landing pad, their craft was guided through what appeared to be solid rock, passing through sophisticated camouflage fields that made the entrance invisible from space. As they traveled deeper underground, Alina realized they were moving through a massive tunnel system that extended 4 kilometers in every direction. "Welcome to New Terra," Marcus announced as their shuttle emerged into a vast underground cavern that stretched beyond the limits of their lights. Elena's breath caught in her throat. Before them lay a city that defied every assumption about human civilization. Towers of gleaming metal and crystal stretched upward into the cavern's darkness, connected by bridges of light that pulsed with energy. The architecture was unmistakably human in its organic curves and bold geometric patterns, but incorporated technologies that seemed decades ahead of anything the Coalition possessed. Population, Admiral Vralin asked, his voice carrying a note of awe that Alina had never heard from him before. New Terra alone houses 12 million people, Marcus replied casually. But it's only one of 47 underground cities we've established throughout human space. Total population is approximately 800 million and growing steadily. Dr. Qualiner's antennae nearly vibrated off his head. 800 million. Captain, that's nearly half of humanity's pre-war population. How did you sustain such numbers while remaining hidden? Closed-loop ecological systems, advanced medical technology, and careful population management, Marcus explained as their shuttle descended toward a landing platform. But more importantly, we've had something that drove us to not just survive, but to thrive. Which was? Alina asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. Marcus turned to look at her directly, and in his eyes she saw the same fierce determination that had driven humanity to spread across the galaxy in the first place. Revenge, Alina. Pure, focused, patient revenge. The Devourers took our worlds, killed our people, and tried to erase us from existence. We've spent 2 centuries making sure that when we returned, we'd be ready to return the favor. As their shuttle touched down on the platform, Alina saw crowds of humans gathering to welcome their visitors. Men, women, and children of all ages. But there was something different about them. They moved with a confidence and purpose that spoke of a people who had found their calling. Their clothing incorporated technologies Alina didn't recognize, and their expressions held the same determined gleam she saw in Marcus's eyes. Alina, Marcus said as the shuttle's doors began to open, I want you to meet the generation that's going to win the war against the Devourers. They've been waiting their entire lives for this moment. Alina stepped out onto the platform and was immediately struck by the sound that greeted them. It wasn't cheering or celebration, but something that made her heart race with pride and terror, in equal measure. 800 voices speaking in perfect unison, repeating a phrase that had apparently become humanity's new creed. We are the children of the consumed worlds. We are the inheritors of the great silence. We are humanity, and we have not forgotten. As Alina looked out at the faces surrounding them, representing species from across the Coalition, she realized that the galaxy was about to discover what happened when humanity spent 2 centuries preparing for war. The age of hiding was indeed over, but what was beginning might be more terrifying than anything the Devourers had unleashed. Asterisk.